Good morning. I would love to share some thoughts with you today on building meaningful relationships in the horse industry. And I will start out with what got me started in the horse industry. I have always loved horses. I was a horse crazy little girl that ran around on four legs when I was a little kid pretending I was a horse. And I always wanted Breyer horse models instead of dolls to my mom's chagrin. And always dreamed of having a horse, and it became a reality when I was just in grade school. My folks moved from Seattle all the way up to Blaine, Washington to build a house for my sister and brother in law, and we were able to get some land, and I was able to get my first horse. Well, he was kind of a challenge. He bucked me off, and I don't know why I still like horses, but anyway, we overcame that, and I just wanted to have a career of some sort in the horse industry. I dreamed of it all through high school, and when I got out of high school, I went to horsemanship college and got my horse master certificate. Was going to come home and be a horse trainer. And my first job was working for a dude string and just conditioning horses, getting them ready to be safe on the dude string and that kind of thing. And I really enjoyed the job. It was fun while it lasted, but it didn't pay very well. And I was married pretty young, so we had a house to pay for, and so I had to go get a job. And I went and I started with a podiatric lab in Blaine, working on people's feet. And then I got a job, kind of what launched my career with the horse industry was working for a customs broker in Blaine, and we cleared goods into the US. I had to do a lot of computer work, and so that kind of got me interested in what can I do? How can I use these skills in the horse industry and make it a career? And even though I was in the brokerage industry for 15 years, I had started a magazine. I started Horse Source in 1995, and I did it in the wee hours of the morning and after work and got it started. It was 16 pages and 1,000 copies, and I took it and handed it out at the local feed stores. And I got help from a nice lady at work, Barb Wilmore. She helped me with the editing, and my best friend Teresa got us started with a website. And there you are. We got started in the business. And I was just amazed at how many people were so helpful in getting me started. Um, Early on, I have the feeling that this was going to be a path I wanted to take. And I was really interested in computers. I was actively involved in it. And I only had experience with Microsoft Word, and I decided I was going to take some courses and learn a little bit about um, graphic design so I could start the magazine. And I did. I took some college courses, and Aldus PageMaker was the first program that I used, and worked with a local printing company. And there you go, we got started. Um, so I guess some of the things that really intrigued me about the horse industry was that we're kind of a tight knit community, but we're fickle. And so um, and by that I mean that horse people are very particular about how they care for their horses and the information they consume and the products they use. We all have opinions about stuff, and we're pretty strong in our opinions. So, my goal in starting the Horse Source was to educate people about their horses, horse care, training, veterinary care, how to feed your horse, that kind of thing. And so I was able to gather information. Um, I just loved horses. So I thought, I got to do something that's going to help me with horses. And so in 1997, or 1995, December of 95, I started the Northwest Horse Source. And I was eventually able to quit my job and do this full time. And it was thanks to the people that believed in me, believed in my dream, and wanted to help me succeed. And my family was a big part of that. My sister and my mom helped me in the beginning, and I knew nothing. I knew nothing about magazine production. I probably should have gone to work for a magazine, but I loved people and I loved horses. So somehow I wanted to make that work. Um, so my mission, being able to help horse people succeed, um, and And why it matters and why relationships matter is, the strong connections are essential for personal growth and for business growth. And we really need each other. We need the influence of others in our lives. And I didn't build the Horse Source alone. And so part of it in the beginning was trainers would help me write articles on training and horse care. And Culshan Veterinary was one of the first veterinary clinics that helped me write articles. And Dave Sauter, he wrote some articles for me for years on veterinary care. And what they would get out of the deal would be a bio and credibility and free advertising. Basically, anytime you're published, it is free advertising, and it helps you to brand yourself and to build credibility. And so we helped a lot of young people start that way. I remember Clinton Anderson when he was starting, and Ken McNabb, I remember when they started, and they both all helped me with articles and things like that in the magazine. And I think their goal was to help horse people succeed too. And so I just wanted to share some of that. And what I've learned right now, I'm trying to finish up a course in the Canfield Principles, and Jack Canfield is the author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And so he has started a Train the Trainer program, and it's basically life principles that really help people to succeed in life. And a lot of that had an influence on me here in these later years about how to value the relationships that we build in business. And, the first principle he taught us was 100% responsibility. So events in our life plus our response to those events equals our outcome. And so we have to take responsibility for where we're at in life. And the decisions we make are what brought us to where we're at. And so knowing that when you go into a business relationship with somebody, it's about respecting what they say, listening to what they're telling you, and coming up with a way that to the best of your ability to help them succeed. And I think horse trainers, that's all part of the deal, is we want to help people when we're training horses to understand how the horse thinks, what is the best way to approach the problem or the thing that you're trying to train them, and give them the opportunity to succeed before we correct. And I think we have to be authentic. I think we have to take responsibility for any mistakes we make, own up to it right away, and be willing to make it right. I think that's just so important. And then to have a clear vision. We need to know where we are going. What do we want to accomplish in life? What's the end game? We have to know where we're going in order to be able to chart a path to get there. We have to know our clients. We have to know what their needs and wants and desires are. And I think that's what I've enjoyed doing most is, how can I best help you? Here's what I would suggest, and listen to their successes and failures. We're partners in business, basically. And so I think we have to treat everything as a responsibility that we have to see others in our sphere of influence be successful. We need to practice active listening, and that's a challenge for me. It's listening without having to respond. Just listen and see what they are saying. Listen with intent. And we want to understand. That's the goal of listening, is to understand. We need to show appreciation for our contributors, supporters. The people that work for us and with us need to be appreciated, need to feel appreciated. That goes a long ways in success, is helping those who help you succeed, and recognizing that. We need to surround ourselves with the right people. And so we need positive, kind, supportive people. And one of the stories I want to share with you, early on in my career, my sister was my editor, and we had a customer that was advertising with us. He wasn't getting the response, and he believed it was because we weren't heavily distributed in his area. And this is after we'd been going for probably, 5-6 years. And my distribution was probably around 20,000 at that time. But we weren't super heavy in the area that he was at. We had magazines in his area, but not enough to his satisfaction. So anyway, he wouldn't pay his bill, and we eventually ended up in court. And okay, so we ended up in court, debating over. I wanted my bill paid. He wasn't going to pay it, and so we ended up driving to Snohomish in a blizzard of a storm. It was crazy. My sister and I were on pins and needles the whole way there. And we get to the courthouse and we ended up in mediation. And the upshot of the conversation was we came to a conclusion. And after it was all over, this gentleman came up and said, "Can I take you ladies to lunch?" And so we came up with, he paid part of the bill. I took responsibility for the fact that he wasn't happy with the amount of distribution in the area. And he paid part of the bill and he took us to lunch. And that is how I want every interaction to turn out, is in a positive light. And it was just an example of, let's figure this out, let's work it out. And we did. And it just kind of felt good to have that happen. Anyway, the other thing is, I had a gentleman in my life when I worked for a company called Border Brokerage. One of the owners, Dick Vanderyacht, was an avid backcountry horseman. He was instrumental in helping build trails near Ross Dam in eastern Washington. And he loved the backcountry. He loved hunting. He loved horseback riding. And he was a writer. And so he said, "Can I share some stories with you?" And so he wrote fictional stories for the magazine for quite a while. And actually, he wrote quite a few true stories, like Stark's Ark, which was a story about an ark that they built for crossing the lake with your horses so that you get to the other side and access the trails. And he ended up writing a series of books, and he credited the magazine with being published and our relationship as helping him to build that. And a lot of the writers that we have for us, that's how a lot of them got their start. It was just really fun to see new businesses start, and I was just excited to have a part of that. So the other thing I want to say is, and something I want to leave you with, my goal is to leave you with some tips on relationship building. And so I think networking with intention would be something that is so important. Horse expos to me are one of the most important ways to network. And I realize social media has taken on a role in our lives now, and that's how a lot of us interact and so forth. But there's nothing like the in person and talking to somebody face to face. I think that just has such value. And so I do hope the horse expos succeed. They've slowed in the last few years. The cost of going to a horse expo, the cost of employees, the cost of hotels and travel, you have to take that into account. But that connection is just valuable. Where else can you go and see clinicians and horse businesses and see clinics, all under one roof, so to speak. So it's one of the best ways I've had to network, and I've always enjoyed doing that. I say, network with intention. The other thing is I'd let go of high maintenance people and negative people. They just will bring you down in business. And, there's been a few people that I've fired over the years because, and they weren't a good fit. That's the other thing. They're just not a good fit for your business. So, I let those people go. There's always somebody else out there, and find somebody that's a good fit for your business. And then I would have to say some of the other tips are: give before you get. Find out what you can do for others and how can you help them succeed before you start thinking about the almighty dollar and what they can do for you. Zig Ziglar made a comment, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was to the effect of help others get what they want. And in order to help others get what they want, you will get what you want in the end. And it's something like that. That's not the exact quote. But anyway, just, we feel like we do that with Horse Source by sharing stories, trainer profiles, interviews, business profiles. I love doing that for businesses. And then, joining a directory, being a part of a collection of horse people. And this is the one thing I will say about social media. There are so many groups and so many places to get involved. And now you really don't get seen unless you pay. You've got to pay to play. And it costs a lot of money to be seen these days. Social media got us all sucked in when it first started. And we built the Horse Source organically through social media, which was great. But there's too much, you have to be a member of too many different groups and organizations. And to me, social media is very time consuming. So our goal was to create one place where horse people can come and share their business, share events. We share real estate. We now do horses for sale, and just be a part of a community. And then keep learning. Whatever you do, always keep learning. When I was young, I thought I knew everything. The older I get, the more I realize I don't know. So just take some of these key things that I've shared with you today, and I'd love to hear your feedback, your comments, and just thank you so much for taking the time. And I look forward to sharing more information with you, and we'll see you again.